Oh, happy Tuesday, everybody. We're gonna do the intro a little shorter than usual because we have a special guest. So I'll bring him on right away. Not get down to the usual BS. We don't need to play catch up. We're gonna bring on Robbz from the Aquarium Guys podcast. And I know I'm doing this super ghetto, but for not doing guests very often, Streamlabs became really freaking expensive. Or
My guy,
StreamYard, whatever.
$50 a month for StreamYards is a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah,
So
it's kind of
I'm
nuts.
I'm good with ghetto.
When it was 15, it was totally understandable. Or when they had a free option that you could use a certain number of times, and it was like, your video quality sucks, you can't brand anything, we're watermarking. It was like, yeah, I don't care about that. That's fine.
I mean, I'm not that pretty, so being potato would be fine, but I do have a great voice. So that would be unfortunate due to low quality.
I don't think it screwed with the audio quality. It was just your video quality, I think, capped at like 720p or 1080i, one of the two. It was like not great.
We miss those days.
Yeah.
Hello, Bentley's fans,
Yeah.
and a few
So
of mine I see in the chat.
if for some reason you don't know this well shaded individual.
Well shaded.
Yeah,
Their prescription for your
you're
information.
always wearing your shades, dude. You're not like boring like me with standard clear glasses. This is Robbz from the Aquarium Guys podcast, and loosely affiliated with a store, which is to say he helped the owner found Deez Fish Co, but is not associated directly, like not an employee, not an owner.
But we can get into the details so whenever you're ready.
Whatever you want to go there. But
Right.
recently you went to the Quad City Fish Swap, and before going, there was kind of an interesting situation occurring. I'd love you to go into that, like what brings along the topic we're talking about today.
All right, so let's dive in head first. So again, a little preface for this Deez Fish Co. Me and my buddy Derek Schumann, we were planning for about three and a half years on doing a local fish store. Like many of you people in the chat that have wonderful fish rooms, and like, hey man, I've been doing this a long time. Maybe I should jump in and really put my retirement at risk and give this a go. Well, my bit of expertise besides IT is writing up business plans, doing a research and development, and I wrote up a business plan with him just for funsies, pretending that we were actually going to go full bent and tea kettle on this thing with both of our money, one of our money. We didn't know how this was going to work. So we just, anytime we had free time, throw some more planning into this mythical fish store that we didn't do. And one day he got sick of working his metal manufacturing job and be like, you know what? Let's go and do this. And that's exactly what he did. He dumped his retirement and says, Robbz, will you help me get this started? So I'm a founder. I own none of it. And I'm honored and blessed that I still get to help him with the store. Now he's on his third year and been doing very successful. Like having a full-time employee with him, running 1,000 square foot of just retail space. There's a 10-foot koi pond in it. It's a wonderful place that we've made in the middle of nowhere. Like our population size for the town that it lives in is about 10,000 people. It should not feed the size of fish store we do, but we have people coming in from 6 hours away to come enjoy our fish store. So we're real blessed in the middle of the very, very north. We're about 45 minutes from Fargo is the closest major city. So there's not a lot of competition, and I think that's our only saving grace.
So one thing, and I don't want to cause too much trauma by making this association. Years ago, when I kind of first started more regularly doing YouTube, when a certain Northwest aquarium store was really hitting their stride, Aquarium Co-op, getting people who were driving 6+ hours to go to that store was a more common story than you might think. So to me, that says that at a bare minimum, they know there is a customer experience one way, shape, or form, whether it's a combination of service, there's just nothing closer, or they get to enjoy interesting people they like. That is a positive thing. And if you've run a fish business for 3 years, I think you're probably doing something right, because fish businesses are not easy. And I've seen plenty of them fail or be in really dire straits within even their first year. So, yeah, guys are doing something right.
Yeah. I'm very impressed with those guys have done. It's Derek is the owner. Dan is helped run the store with him, and they've done a great job making that. And if you want to see it, there's a link. I think you might have it in the show notes of Chris Biggs. He did a tour, so you can check it out. So we don't have to talk about it and get right to the point. So I help them with a lot of different things. If one of them's sick and they need store coverage, I show up at the store and I'll bag fish, I'll work the store to cover a weekend day. If they need help ordering, I'll help try to source different stuff from the connections I've gotten over the years with Jimmy and I will. Jim is again on our Aquarium podcast, and it's winter season, right? I've been harped by a lot of our fans to go to the Quad City Fish Swap in Davenport, Iowa. It is one of the biggest fish swaps in North America. Not the biggest, but definitely one of the biggest. Especially for our Midwest area, it's in the middle of essentially nowhere. It really pulls in a mass amount of people. Just when they open the door, it feels like there was a couple thousand people right when the doors opened. It was a wonderful experience. I've never got to go up to this point. I know there's going to be a big experience there. I know a few people that are vending, and I saw the vend list, and it was quite large this go around for February. We also have this terrible storm happening throughout the entire nation, putting 1.5 feet of snow in Kentucky, of all places. So we have bad weather. We have, Amazon warehouse strikes. We have UPS strikes. We have overload that people still haven't got Christmas gifts as of this week. And fish on top of it during the coldest snap we've had in the lowest parts of the United States. Here, we can handle 33 below all day, but when I'm talking to my friends in Oklahoma and they're dealing with, touching below zero temperatures or sub-zero temperatures, that's a scary thing that they were about to predict. So I know that all the fish stores were already empty, that were anywhere within drivable distance of Deez Fish Co. I know that the order that Deez Fish Co. just made with a couple different vendors, all frozen transit. They were all done next day shipping, and they didn't show up for 6 days, and they were frozen like a block of ice because the delay in shipping was that broken up. Now, again, the wholesalers that dealt with this probably got their money back, or at least got some sort of credit back dealing with the delay that was happening, because it wasn't anyone's fault but UPS, right? Or the airline, whatever they came on. But still, that leaves a store that's empty in what's normally a busy season. When you're in Minnesota dealing with that cold weather, if you don't have product when everybody's inside, you're going to lose out on the best time of year. So I call up Derek and say, hey, I know exactly what's going to happen with the next 3 orders that they're going to reattempt to send you. They're all going to freeze. It's up to them if they want to send it to you. But I think our best hope is to get one of our larger vehicles, haul our happy derrieres down to the Quad City Fish Swap, which is 9 hours away drive time for us one way, and make camp. And he's like, what do you mean make camp? I don't have product to sell at the Quad City Fish Swap. He's like, no. We're not sellers at the Quad City Fish Swap. We're buyers. And it didn't quite click at that moment. It took him a minute to think about how we could be buyers. So if you're going to a fish swap, that's retail. You're not going there because you're a store. But we're desperate for fish. Fish prices are already exacerbated by many different elements, not including the immediate element of no one can ship anything right now. So that has not hit the swap market. So when people are doing local breeders with quality product, they haven't seen that bubble hit, which takes about 6 months to hit their product before it hits anybody else. So even if we're going to pay retail rate, worst case scenario, we're going to at least come with something back to sell something at the store instead of having an empty store. Which, don't get me wrong, we're not empty at that point, but we're going to be. So we go down there, drive 9 hours, get there the day before, and I arrive at the fish swap. There's a line going outside. It's about 39, 40 degrees, and we're in Iowa, which there's no hills or trees or anything. So again, 40-mile-an-hour wind is just a light breeze for these people. So outside with 40-degree weather and 40-mile-an-hour wind, all waiting outside, not in their cars, just a long line through the parking lot trying to get into this place. I'm not going to put up with that. So I, I do my best to be like, oh no, I'm helping a buddy set up his booth. And I lie my way into this place. So if you're from the Quad City Fish Swap, I'm sorry. I authentically helped my buddy Fernando with his table to get in and pass the line. I know I'm a bit of a cheese, but I got warm. My homies that went with me, we had a great time. And yeah, no, I got to see the place all set up minutes before anyone else did and got to at least inspect the products there. And I was blown away by the sheer size. And the moment the door hit, there was not standing room. It was everything. My buddy was like full on concert, elbow to elbow. That first hit at any swap, everybody wants to find that sweet product or the one-ofs. So immediately our gears change. Instead of us trying to work with these tables to figure out what deals we can get, we go, all right, the first hour is us buying full price anything that we have to have. If we can't live without it, or their prices are fair enough, we just buy everything that we have to have at full price. Then in a 4-hour swap, hour 2 or 3, people, there's not 70% of sales have already happened. And if people have a half full table, they're wanting to go home. They're not going to make many sales more. They'll make some, but some people are impulsive. They don't want to sit around. And let's be real, we're not far away from Wisconsin, so they want to go see the Packers game during the playoffs. So we had the time to look at the tables, do jank math, and then walk up to the table saying, hey man, you want to leave? Do you want to go watch a Packers game? And they're, a little bit taken back going, what do you mean? Do I want to leave and go watch the Packers game? Well, I mean, I could send you home if you want. Well, I don't know what this means. Well, I'm representing a store 9 hours north. We're a little low on product, and I'd like to make you an offer for the whole table. And then immediately they smile and be like, yeah, I want to go see the Packers game.
Yes, I like money, and I would like to watch football.
I would love to go watch football. You are a scholar and a gentleman. Come to my table. So that's literally what we did. We spent the trip going through, and this only works in certain scenarios. One, if you go into a table and they're already a brick and mortar store, they're going to want to take that product back with them. They're not going to want to do a deal with you. They're going to keep things retail price, and they're going to put it right back into their brick and mortar store. So you immediately assess those people and you respect them. You don't try to say, hey, I'm just trying to, get this for a store that's not in your state. You understand their game and move on. But everybody else, yeah, they don't want to go home. They don't want to repack their fish. They don't want to deal with potential losses, especially in the bitter cold restocking and reloading.
Right.
They're all happy with, let's take a cut and I'm going to go home with more money than I originally anticipated.
Yeah, you're looking at home breeders, or maybe if they do have a small business, people who are like Facebook sellers or things like that, where they're reliant on shipping and the weather affects them just as much as it's affecting your store. So the potential to not have to just sit and hold product or have losses during travel, right, is extremely helpful. We got a couple of comments in here. I want to grab them first.
Perfect.
Dr. Mazerall, the Amazon Research Center for Ornamental Fishes, says hello from Peru. Says Peru currently rough life, out there where it's warm.
Really roughing it. I actually, he could be roughing it. I don't know.
He's got a great facility there. So the first comment that I'm not going to scroll back far enough to find it, but was Robbz does not look like his voice sounds, and my only response to that is that's a radio guy. Radio guys never look the way they sound.
I don't look near as handsome as my voice, I promise you.
Yeah, we're usually horrible, like ugly, trollish old men, but we have great voices. Or some of the women I know in radio are the ones that, like, especially the ones who have that like really bubbly, almost like Valley Girl-esque kind of voice. They look nothing like that in person.
That happens to be like the bench press weightlift guy,
Or you'll find out that they're like, they have this, very neutral, accent, like they come from, say, California or the West Coast. They found out they're like talking their normal voice. It's like the thickest Brooklyn, New York accent you've heard in your life. You're like, how? How do you do this?
Right.
That was my radio teacher back when I was doing radio as an education side of things before I worked in radio for a while. My teacher, her voice on radio was miles apart from her standard speaking voice, and if you looked at her, you would never think like that voice fits that person.
It fits everywhere. Like, dude, I'll smash karaoke all day. Just don't look at me dance on stage. Even like what was it? The lead guy from Blues Traveler was like 400 pounds.
Yeah, he's a big fella. I can
Yeah.
relate. So there were several people commenting about their various weather. Paul Saltero, I saw they had 3 to 4 inches in southeast North Carolina. It shut down the entire town. Which, like, in Washington, in the eastern side of the state, they can handle snow. But where I'm at, in the Seattle area, where it's hills everywhere and there's no infrastructure to protect you, a half inch of snow will shut down like half the city. It's kind of ridiculous because no one knows how to drive it out here either.
In the chat here, we got a Dalton Paul that says we had snow flurries in Central Florida. If that doesn't paint it out, like that's right there. You have a snowball in hell. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Central Florida. Good Lord.
Yeah.
And then Sue Harkey, who I've had the honor of meeting in person. I lived in Kirksville, Missouri for 2 years. Wind and snow with nothing to do. Oh, man. I can imagine certain parts, depending on where you are. Like, think about, I don't think you've met him in person, but like Dan of Dan's Fish, right? He's in Wyoming. And they basically have like 7 months of death winter. It's kind of ridiculous with like how long their temperatures are cold and snowy just because of where they are in the country.
Elevation on top of it. I was, I literally measured 33 below, and I still had less snow than Kentucky. We had 26 inches of ice, and I've been ice fishing all weekend.
Okay, so there's a question from Peplin. Am I going to one of the Quad City swaps? I would like to at some point. I think, like, I've mentioned this before. It's kind of similar to trying to go back to something like the Clash, where my last 2 years, where it was like lay off, lose almost every ounce of savings I have, get a job, work for a while, start looking like I'm going to go back on the upswing, get laid off again, drain every ounce of any savings I have whatsoever dry. I kind of have to get back to like normal before I start looking at stuff like that. But I would, hi puppy, my dog like apparently needs to be on top of my legs right now. But I would like to. I really want to go to the weird things about the Quad City Fish Swap, where it is, kind of being out in the middle of nowhere. Although it's within an hour drive of several metropolitan cities, apparently, so it makes flying in not so bad.
Yeah, Chicago, some cities, and of course the Twin Cities isn't that far away from in Minnesota. You got big cities in Missouri. It's just like they planned it to be this little bodunk town, but drivable from everywhere that matters in the Midwest anyway.
And then the other thing is, because it's a one-day event, planning gets a little weird around that. And where, okay, this is where we have to extrapolate. Hopefully, big Deez, I'm not working where I'm currently working in the future, to where I have more than like effectively 0 paid time off because I get so little with where I work currently. I'm working on contract. When you work on contract, it's just abysmal. But yeah, Pevlin Creek. So you're getting married. You and Fox, you're getting married at the Clash. Oh Lord,
that would be that'd be something to see.
Oh, I know both of them. I've met them both. They're wonderful people. Oh, that's pressure. That's pressure, man. And Johnny's getting sent to the Clash. That's the other thing. I even put money in on sending Johnny to the Clash.
So, fun tangent about going to the Quad City Swamp. So I was heading down there, and I messaged on my Discord where my fans are at. Hey, anybody want to meet me down there? We're going to be down there the night before. We can meet before the swap, however. And a couple people on there like, yeah, let's meet up. And met some people there for the first time. And I walk up to the group, and the first person I see, I think he's in the chat, is a gentleman from Whip's World, and he's wearing the Keystone Clash T-shirt.
My boy.
The weird thing is, these gentlemen decided that we're going to meet at, I don't even remember the place's name, some sort of like hot dog chain. I'm like, who wants to do a 10:30 breakfast and have tube meat? Like, whose idea was this? Don't get me wrong, it worked out, but it was just, tube meat for breakfast. I feel like they wanted a meme on my colon.
I mean, with the amount that I know whip, which is just enough, this just sounds like a very whip thing. I'm just putting it out there. That sounds like whip.
Right. The three gentlemen, if you want to check them out, is outside in aquatics. I always screw that up.
Got it.
Whip that we spoke about, and then Branton Lightcap. I believe he's got. Let's see. Yes, I did say his YouTube correct. Branton Lightcap. Good.
I was gonna say outside in's been in a few of my live streams. Brandon, I think this is the first time I've seen you. Otherwise, you've been like a lurker. Welcome. It's kind of cool.
Portillo's. There you go. They put it in there. Portillo's.
Interesting. I'd have to check that place out. But I will say, like, one of the things I love the most about any of the, I'll put small because I don't feel like the Clash should be deemed a small event anymore. And from how the Quad City Fish Swap has been told to me by many people,
it's not small.
Like Tom from TM Aquatics has told me about the Quad City Fish Swap multiple times. It's not small. They're like these monstrous events but they still feel. You get that feeling that's a little more small, where you can sit and if you really want to, sit and hang out and chat with people, right?
They do it right. They have a lounge. They do it right by a bowling alley. They serve pizza. They have an open bar. Yeah, it was great. It made me feel bad to have, tube meat farts the entire time, because I could have easily socialized with more people than I did.
Okay, so here's my first question, because you glanced over this a little bit, but in that first hour, what were the fish that you had to have? That basically you went, okay, we've got to pay full retail on these because we just have to have them in the store.
So this is very store specific. In your area, things sell differently than other people's areas. Our areas, we have liquid rock, so you think cichlids would sell great. Any type of African cichlids, think would just fly off the shelf. Everybody has the appropriate water. They could just pour right out their well and have the pristine elements for that tank. We cannot sell any African cichlids, haps, anything. Really? No matter how high end, we can't give them away. In fact, if we bring them in and we sit there for 6 months, sell a tank, they will bring them back, give it away for free, and we call it the rental fish of the store.
Really?
It's our area, completely unique to just us. If we go anywhere outside our area or bring those to an outside swap, those fish sell immediately. So again, it's very much unique to what sells in your store. So we're looking for things that target at Deez Fish Co. And the things that target at Deez Fish Co. are very much either oddballs, extreme high-end guppies. We have clients that will pay insane amounts of money for the top-end quality guppies.
I don't know why you want my guppies then, because they're not top-end quality.
I just, the same reason I have Adams Endlers. I hate Endlers, but it's part of, if I have a friend, I want a piece of them here to mock and point at and make fun of. So make it happen. I call them purple and it offended you, so I'm going to keep doing it. Guppies. But anyways, so yeah, again, it has to be very store specific. So when you're sitting there and you're trying to target stuff that you have to have, the first thing that, of course, that I saw was this. Forgive me. There's so many shout outs that I should do for these tables. So forgive me if you didn't get a shout out. Don't cut my head off. But I went to this gentleman's table and he had these his own hand raised line of Galaxy guppies, and they were just mind blowing. I went to his display. And I pulled him aside and I said, "These are mine, all of them." He's like, "What?" And he had this whole display of just Galaxy guppies, and he had I'd say 3 long tables worth, and it was a horizontal display. So one section, I just bought the whole section for retail price. Whatever you want, I just have to have them. I'm not asking for a deal. Those are just all mine. No one else can have them. And he started grabbing them. "Okay, you get these." I'm like, "No." And I start grabbing all the bags. "These are all mine. You don't understand. I got cash. This is all mine." He's just giggling. I think one of his family members was there, and they're just blown away. Like, "These are all mine. No one else can have." Someone comes up. "I'm sorry, ma'am. These are sold." And I just He begs him alone. I give him cash. He smiles. I'm his best friend for the rest of the day. So that we didn't act like a gangster the entire time we were there, but that's the one thing that I absolutely had to have, and those absolutely sold out in the store. When we got them back, people were beyond impressed. Our hungry hippo audience that needed to have them had them. We bought trout Gudeids. Again, oddball stuff. An electric catfish, had to have that. We've been trying to order electric catfish in for a long time, but every time they get a batch in, they get sent somewhere else for some reason. You know what wholesaler you are. You're listening, and you know I'm not happy. The one thing that we didn't get from the swap that we would have paid absolute retail price for, because of this the season, it's hard to get in, is just shrimp. All the shrimp that were available, there's only 3 people that had shrimp, basically sold out right away.
Wow.
It's again seasonal thing, especially for home breeders. So didn't get that, but yeah, we again went around the tables, found, I think there was a couple different Wabbenmunster, however you pronounce that Plego name. Wabbenmunster. We just call them Wabbies when we order them wholesale. So we got all this guy's Wabbies. There was a gentleman that was sitting at a table, and he was selling little bundles of leaves. But I noticed that he had these, bales of leaves, about yay verily, right? And he had a stack of them behind the table, and many suitcases of leaves. And there were Indian almond and guava leaves. And I just walk up to him and be like, "How much for all of those?" And I had to have them in the first 15 minutes. And then I went home with a couple things for myself. I got San Marcos Gudeids. They're like the 4-color, 5-color Gudeids.
Yeah.
I've been looking for those for a while. And then I got a yellow rainbow from Primetime Aquatics. He only had 1 bag of those, so I sniped those up pretty quick.
I'm assuming that's the Herbert Axelrodi.
I believe so. Again, I didn't really...
The generic yellow rainbow, yellow body, red fins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great fish.
I didn't get real... honestly, I've looked at them 4 times since I brought them home because I've been so busy. I'm like, are they alive? Are they eating? Cool, let's move on.
Stephen P. Robbz is basically Mr. Beasting a fish swap.
No, I wish. That would be great. I was playing with house money. It wasn't my money. That's the only thing. Two things I bought for myself was those San Marcos Gudeids and the yellow rainbows. Yep, and of course 2 Galaxy Guppies, just 2 out of the batch because I had to show people what they were because I knew they were going to sell out.
So I will tell you that the yellow rainbow is what got Gary Lang into rainbows.
I would do anything to get that man on my podcast. I've talked to him on the cell phone, and someone else that has a podcast ruined podcast forever, and he will never come on a podcast. Not just my podcast; he'll never go on anybody's podcast. So I don't know who you are that ruined it for him, but I would.
That's interesting.
I'd bribe him with $1,000. I would pay him $1,000 to come on my podcast.
Back when, well, you'd probably have to not let Jimmy be on the show.
Nope. That for $1,000, Jimmy's got to be on there. $500, we'll cut Jimmy off.
But I can remember when he went to when Aquarium Co-op used to have their pseudo podcast. He was there and seemed to do fine, but somebody screwed it up.
I don't think it was them. I think it was someone that tried to do the only live. There's your only hint.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh no.
Yeah, you know exactly who I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, I can probably talk to Gary, but I don't know if I can convince him.
Nope. I don't think anybody could, and that's okay. I'm not gonna badger people. But
Paul would like you to know that he has a breeding factory of the San Marcos Gudeids. So
I'm hoping to start my own as well. Mine are all hypo pregnant, so they came. They were pretty thin when I got them. Now they're fat and gravid. So I'm tickled pink.
Anytime I get that, I love the Dan's fish One of his favorite slogans is "fat and sassy," and I love describing a fish as fat and sassy.
That's definitely a sassy fish. They have they didn't take long to train. I come to the tank and they just full on bucker, sassy, and wag. So I'm tickled with the species.
The 186 element. I'm going to my first Aquashella. Any tips? Okay. I've got the most important tip for you. Have fun.
That's number 2.
No, have fun. Just like
bring hand sanitizer.
Oh yeah, I would. You're probably gonna have some level of con crud floating around,
and then have fun.
Yeah. Protect yourself, but have fun. The biggest thing about bring money, Stephen B. Bring money.
You know what? That's number 3. We're gonna make a list here live. That's what we're doing.
The biggest thing about Aquashella. And this is third-party information, but this is me talking to a lot of my friends who've gone because I haven't gone. I'm weird. I prefer smaller events because I feel like I have more opportunity to do the things that I like the most at conventions, which is just sit and talk to people. Whereas there's like this subconscious pressure with how big Aquashella is that it's impossible to just sit and talk with people because so many people are around, right? You feel like I can't sit for an hour and talk to somebody. I feel like I would have to do like 5 to 10 minutes and then move on, right?
Yet you talk to me in the phone for a couple hours every blue moon or so. You just got to have someone fun. That's the goal.
No, but there's no pressure to like make sure I talk to everyone possible.
Oh,
in that, because like the people who want to talk to me are going to come up at small events, and we'll have all the time in the world to sit and babble, right? We're at a big event. I'll probably have people that I want to talk to that don't go to those small events, and then otherwise, I'll have other people that want to talk, and it's like I'll feel like I have to split time a lot harder. If Bentley's going to give us a top 10 list at last, no, there are no top 10 lists here. Not no top 10 lists here. But yeah, so
we have to have Paul Schaefer for that or some knockoff. Maybe I need to shave my head and we'll work on this together. We'll just come on and we'll do a regular segment of top 10 lists just to make fun of other top 10 lists.
The closest I've got, I could do the top 10 YouTubers that I hate that only do top 10 lists as their content.
Come on, man.
there are a lot
of these kids that rate tanks and just make fun of beta bulls or something. I don't know.
Oh, come on. That's why am I forgetting his name right now? His channel started with a lot of like
Jimmy
comedy.
Loves that guy.
Why am I forgetting his name?
I can't even remember. There's an F on his logo. Why am I going blank?
Right. Help us, chat. We're both old and dumb.
Yes, we don't watch a ton of other
Fish for thought. There it is.
Jimmy loves this stuff. Like when Jimmy's ever feeling like low and he needs a pick me up, he watches Fish for Thought for fun.
I loved a lot of his old skits when he talked about like working at like a Petco or things like that, right? Where he's like intentionally going a little over the top with some memery. But now it's all just like tank review, and I mean he's done phenomenally well with it. Like I think he did it once or twice, and it's just like taken off like crazy, and his channel has exploded because of that. And he's like the guy that does it now. But yeah, Chris is a good guy. At least my limited experience.
Gary Lang went on the Watercolors podcast. Those guys deserve it, though. If you guys have never listened to that podcast, those guys deserve.
Is very good.
Yes. For those that haven't listened to my podcast, I'm on here in my best behavior per Bentley. My podcast is not necessarily as YouTube friendly, so it's 1 part adult jokes, 2 parts fish. So maybe that's why.
I think the ratio is the other way around.
Is it? Okay. Well, I'm just the one behind the mic throwing those jokes.
But for those of us that want to have a little fun, it's an absolute blast. Yeah. Fish tank review outside in is all in for fish tank review. Oh man. All right. Sid Miller. I'm setting up a new 3-foot for my birthday, and my work just got in a massive shipment of rainbows. Should I get Wilsoni? So that's not a common one. Pygmea or Parva Red. So, okay. Pygmea in numbers are such a cool fish. And not a lot of people get to see Pygmea at full adult size in a good number. And the thing is, with a 3-foot tank, you have lots of room because they stay so small. They're like one of the best rainbows, if not the only rainbow, other than maybe Radnocentris, that can go in a 20 long and be perfectly happy their entire life. So you could do something like a group of 20 Pygmea, and it would be amazing, right? Otherwise, I would say Wilsoni is interesting. Like, Parvas are cool, do not get me wrong, but most Parvas, in my experience, are really colorful for like 2 hours in the morning. And then they slowly fade throughout the day to be kind of washed out and blah. Because they're what a lot of us refer to as a morning rainbow, where they really show off in the morning and then they just chill out for the rest of the day. Pygmea don't do that. Pygmea are like colorful all day. And Wilsoni is a less common rainbow. Sometimes as like a rainbow nerd, I gravitate toward weird rainbows or rainbows that have like really unique patterning or just aren't very common in the hobby, because those are more interesting to me. Because I can go to a store and I can see turquoise and bozemanite and this and that all the time. But how often do I get to go somewhere and see like Wilsoni, Bowmanite, Pygmea nowadays are starting to finally get a little more common, but they're, for 5 years, it was almost impossible to find anybody that would even sell Pygmea because almost no one had them. So finding the breeders that had them, you had to like know a guy that knew a guy. It was a pain.
I'm just upset that Wapoga wasn't anywhere on that list.
That fish just looks too cool.
That was my big fish back in the day, back when it like first started getting trickled in the hobby. I drove down to the below Minneapolis, which I think it drove 5 hours, paid over $100 a fish, and they were just all fry, just to have a sampling of those fish.
Yeah, they're one of the ones that I had eggs of them, and that was when I had one of the egg sets that had the most trouble, where I only got like 3 fry, and they just didn't do very well in my water, which is pretty rare. Usually I don't have issues, but I have friends that have them, so I'll eventually reacquire them because I love that fish.
I mean, clearly you were, what's the term that my roommate likes to do? Smirnoff dosing.
Oh, Lord. Yeah.
Which is a thing for saltwater if you want to look that up, but don't recommend it for beginners.
Well,
that's the thing that we should have for Father Fish's content. We should have labels on it that beginner, advanced advice on all the stuff he says, like burying dead fish in substrate.
I don't feel like that is exclusively a Father Fish thing, because I think there are a lot of people.
That's the one that I get in my community continually. Like, hey man, I'm starting to bury dead fish in my substrate. What's going wrong? I'm like, I mean, you Father Fish. I love your content to death.
You get Father Fish. I get anoxic Kevin Novak stuff all the time.
I don't get that guy.
People, I don't know what it is, and I swear it's like they're big fans of his content that always come in and are hoping for some kind of visceral reaction out of me, and every time I'm like, why are you asking me? If you want to do an anoxic tank, go watch Novak's videos. He's the guy that has the most experience with it. Like,
I feel the difference between those two little struggles for us is that I enjoy Father Fish's content a ton, and if I reaching out to him, he would be willing to go on the podcast had I not get up at 10 o'clock in the morning. Mr. Novak probably wouldn't want to go on anybody's because of facts, and stuff like that. So, I mean, did I say that out loud?
I've met Father Fish in person, and like, he's such a fun guy to just sit and chat, because he really does feel like talking to your grandpa in like all the good ways, not the like the I'm gonna tell you scary war stories kid, or the like I can't stand you, what the hell are you doing. It's just like, let's just talk fish and both enjoy the hobby. He's one of those guys who is really fun, although he definitely, like, when I did get to talk to him in person, he was like, here's a bag of my mix, just take it, I really want to see you do a dirted tank. And I'm like, one day I will do it, but it's way down the line. It's not something soon. He's like, well, I really want to see you do it. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'll
he's
commit.
he's the equivalent of opening up like an old fish book and then reading about purple angelfish and then why arowanas were once called bonefish.
Yeah, kind of. But the
Yeah.
fun thing, okay, I shoved dead fish into my substrate, but all my glass tanks are dirted. Oh boy.
Now the memers are coming out.
Yeah. Yes. This is what you've brought into the show.
I've brought some people to your community. I enjoy this. God bless.
There's my wife. Hi, honey. Hope you're all having fun or having a great
and a
night.
banana says my husband doesn't even like fish, but like the Aquarium Guys podcast while we're driving. He says the only fish show I can hear while in the car when we're together. You know what? Thank you. That right there.
That's a win.
The best type of review I could ever ask for.
That's a win. Can't go wrong with that one.
So before we continue with the story of the Quad City Fish Swap,
yeah.
I know you had more questions. So that was a couple of the items that we went around and sniped. There's probably a few others, but it's a bit of a blur. And we're not only were we sniping things that we had to have, but we're also doing what I call jank math. For someone that's doing this and wants to go to a big swap and has a store that needs to restock slightly, you can't go there expecting to win anything. You have to go there with the thought that I could easily lose my hotel fees, all my food, and all of my gas and go home with virtually nothing. You don't know if you're going to win because, again, you don't know what mood's going on there, if tables are going to get wiped before you could get to them, or anything else. So it's a risk, and we won the risk this time. If we do this again, we may not win the risk, but it's sometimes worth it. And even so, even if I didn't get anything for the store, the people that I met and made relationships and contacts with was well worth it, especially over tube meat.
So let me ask you this. Aside from the couple of must-haves, what fish, as far as you are concerned, kind of caught your eye as this is worth gambling on a little bit? Like, and trying something that maybe we don't know how well this is going to do in the store, but to us, it just seems so impressive we have to try.
So that's a tough one because unlike most brick and mortar stores, the reason that we got to where we are, at least we like to pride ourselves, is we like to do that all the time. We'll go over lists and we'll have separate conversations with vendors and says, we want to know what's not on the list. And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, do you have some like random tanks that you haven't listed that you either haven't identified, which happens more than you would believe. If you go to the wholesalers that have been doing it a while, they will have 3-4 tanks of stuff that's just been sitting there for close to a year that they just don't know how to ID, have time to deal with, and they'll just sell you for, cents on the dollar because they just want it out of their warehouse. And we'll take risks and ask people to order in the weird stuff. One of our wholesalers, I'll even mention him, give him a shout out, because we use many, 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 many wholesalers. Every fish store does. One of many, many wholesalers, Go Aquatics. They have been around for a while in Minneapolis. We asked them, hey, you're one of our local wholesalers we can at least drive to. So if we can get some random, old school bread and butter stock that you haven't seen for many years, could we? And when we opened the store, I had a list of stuff that I haven't seen since I've been a child that we could figure we could give PR to, because we can't afford marketing dollars. So why not order in fish you haven't seen in a while? And one of them that hit off that I like to throw out was blind cave tetras. In our area, haven't seen them for a while. For those that don't know, tetra, completely blind in Mexican cave systems, and they feed on, they move by vibration and scent. You can't have them with long-finned fish like guppies and betas because they're going to feel that vibration of the fins, think it's food, rip them off. But they're otherwise a fun fish. Ordered them in, he literally, the old man at the store, like, I haven't seen these in years, and had a great time with them, sold them. Adds part of the uniqueness to the store that we have stuff that people continually walk in the store and says we don't ever see. So when we go to the swamp, that for us is kind of a staple. It's less of a risk. Some of the risk is when you buy a table and go up to a table, they're not going to want to do a deal when you say, I just want these items, give me a deal. There's no incentive for them to give you a deal. So when you walk up to a table and they have a menagerie of fish, the only hope that you have is they get to go and watch the football game. So you're going to buy whatever's there. doesn't matter if it's good stock, random stock like oddballs, or basic stock that may sit for a while and not sell as fast. Like honestly, zebra dano or any of the not celestial pearl dano species, just basic danos, giant danos, they last for a while. They'll sell eventually, but it's not what a target expensive fish. In fact, sometimes they take more real estate than they're worth in a fish shop, but you still have to have them.
Sure, sure,
So
sure.
when you see a lot of chaff in the mix, that's the risk. Is you're spending money which is worth something to them, but isn't worth it to you as a store.
Right.
I
Yeah,
don't know if that answered your question better.
No, it does. It's not the direct answer, but it's interesting, right? Because it gives some insight into the general philosophy of the store, right? Which is, we pride ourselves on doing weird stuff. In the sense of like, we're not your atypical, whether you want to say Petco or whatever, where it's just like we just have the same basic stuff that everybody has. We have neon tetras, cardinal tetras, we have 800 types of basic tetra that everyone knows and is in every freaking shop practically. It's like, no, well, occasionally we bring that in, yeah, sure, because you got to, but we also bring a lot of like completely weird stuff that you've probably never seen, or that great example, like older fish keepers that are like, I haven't seen this in years. So it's one of those things that makes it a little more interesting, right?
Right.
And that's
so
cool.
I mean, the hard ones are for a store when we go up to some of these tables, and some tables we can't make offers on. We're not buying the whole place. We're selecting our favorite tables, and it's based upon the health of the stock, some of the price points to see if they'd be willing to play ball. But plants hold us back. When people order plants, they order them from different Florida fish farms, different wholesalers, and they get them for cents. And I promise you, it's cents. So if you go up there and you get a little bag of $5 for a plant, you can't expect us to pay 10 cents for that bag. So when we're sitting there saying we want everything, and you're adding that plant stuff in, we're being nice. Or you have so many plants that we say we'll buy all of your fish, not your plants. That's a big hard one. And then again, cichlid tables. If they have some cichlids, we'll take them. But again, cichlids doesn't sell specifically for us, so that was another hard one at the table. But here's a good. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, speaking of cichlids, but do you guys have any issues with things like crebensis or apistos, any of the dwarf cichlids?
Cribs,
because those things are
yes.
super popular out here, right?
Yep, cribs, yes, to some degree. They sell better than most cichlids still, so it would be equivalent. Cribs sell equivalent to like a red tail shark, which is what we consider a bread and butter stock. It doesn't sell fast; it just sells consistent.
Right.
The apistos, they absolutely don't. They're not even to us in the cichlid category. Those sell very fast, high prices, like everywhere else.
Yeah, I'm sure you're aware, but one of my good friends ran an online fish store for years, and his primary thing was apistos, because he's a big apisto guy naturally. So he would bring in all sorts of apistos you've never even heard of, or you're one of those things that, I'm pretty sure that only existed in a book somewhere. I didn't know they actually got sold by people, and that was his bread and butter, was all these crazy apistogramma. This is my buddy Jason, who ran Redfish Bluefish.
Oh, I love him to death. He's been on the podcast.
Jason's
he's a good
man.
guy.
Jason's a hoot.
He came on and talked about cultures, plant cultures.
Yeah, he used to do tissue culturing as his hobby.
Yeah.
As his
hobby.
That
was a wonderful episode.
What
a hobby.
He's a wild dude.
What a hobby. But yeah, to go over that cribensis, is paint that a little further. Like, let's say Derek gets a picture from one of the farmers, and it's like, hey, these are really nice. Order them in; those will disappear. But just everyday cribs, I think, is a better way to explaining it. But anyways, continue.
Gotcha. I'm gonna do something as a helpful. I'm gonna do something. So, J&N Aquatics mentioned in chat that they need 50 more subscribers to be able to live stream.
Oh, make this happen.
I have placed a link to J&N Aquatics' channel just for the sheer purposes of helping J&N be able to live stream.
I'm putting this in my Discord.
Subscribe. Help out. Let's do some chaotic good, as one of my favorite non-fish related YouTubers likes to call it. Let's do some chaotic good. Ah, said Ginger. Already
There we
sucked.
go.
It's all right. It's all right. You're helping. It doesn't matter. It's okay. But if you can, let's help out. Anyway, so let me ask you this, right? What did you have anybody who just absolutely refused to deal no matter what, kind of no matter how the buyout offer occurred, where they just felt that they had to wait for the most money possible? Because that's like the antithesis of my personal philosophy when I go to swaps and I'm a seller. I care
Sure.
more about like how quickly I can sell things and not about how much money I'm making.
So we did our homework. We went around, and people have their some of the tables have brand names, like they call themselves the whatever fish room. There was a gentleman there called the fish. Was it the fish barn? We walked around, and even if they had a brick and mortar store, we still had a conversation with them, introduced ourselves. We're there not just to buy. We wanted to meet people because this is our passion too. So when we go up to saying, "Hey, you want to go home? We'll buy out your table." "Oh, sorry, we're a brick and mortar store." "Oh, fantastic. So are we." Shake our hand, introduce ourselves, make a contact. So that was, sometimes a no. Other people, they'll say, "Hey, we're just not ready yet. I'd love to talk to you at this time." And they'll tell us literally, like, the swap ends at 4, maybe it's 3 o'clock. Honestly, we didn't ask too many people before 3 o'clock, but they'll give us a time like 3:30 or whenever. So we'll just tell them, "Hey, whenever you're ready, you see where we're at, wave us down. We're trying to fill our van. If we fill our van and we have no more buying space, cool, then we're going home." Like we
Right.
could, like we really thought that. That was a little bit of a bluff. Let's be real. So just wave us down when you're ready to go home and watch like the football game. Some people will just like, "Hey, get back here. I'm ready to go home." Sure enough, and then we would do a deal. But then when we would get down to it, some people just didn't understand wholesale. So then what I'll do is I'll sit there. They have their bags marked, and I'm decently good at fast math. So I can sit there, add up their whole table, and then they'll say, "Well, for the whole table, we'll do $300." I'll say, "Well," and I said, "I'll go from here to here. Your retail asking is $310. You weren't really giving me a deal here. I don't even know where to start the bidding without offending you. We're a store. We have to pay wholesale pricing. I understand you want retail. We're here to make a profit ourselves, and we got to drive 9 hours north. So that's fine if you want to do that. We'll just, we won't bother you. We try to be as respectful as possible." So there was times where we just didn't meet in the middle, and it was it. We shook our hands, said, "We'll meet you at the next swap. It was really nice meeting you. You have a great product," to move on.
Yeah. Cool. Tugger in chat. Bentley is a fan of podcast, which is Tom Grassi. Yes, I love Tom Grassi quite a lot. It's one of my favorite football YouTubers.
I'm a Vikings fan, and I still like Tom Grassi.
Yeah, I'm a Seahawks fan, and he hates the Seahawks. I still like the guy.
Yeah, I was gonna say this stream right here is probably the embodiment of who he hates the most. Just add San Francisco somewhere, and we got it.
Yeah, he refers to the Vikings as the purple incarnation of Satan, and he's generally bitter about the Seahawks because of recent playoff victories that went horrible for his team. Recent being in the last 10 years, where it's like, well, me as an old Seahawks fan, I remember several years of Green Bay snubbing us in the playoffs, so, tit for tat, buddy. But
it's all right. We dominated him all year, so he can go cry.
Well, it'll come back again. Teams are cyclical, at least the good ones. The Browns, unfortunately, never know that again.
No, never ever.
Oh, okay. Off football, back to fish.
Yeah, off football.
I'm trying to think of okay, you discussed the concept of the semi-joking concept of when the van's full, we're done. How close did you get to filling the van?
Well, see, that's the thing. We came down, like, if we could get 2 boxes of fish, we were like, it's worth our gas. Then it's at least paid for our entertainment of meeting people. That was our thought.
Okay.
The store desperately needs some product, so if we can get something, for crying out loud, it makes our weekend, right?
Sure.
That was way above that. We were wiping tables left and right to the end because everybody was cleaning up. They wanted to go home and no one wants to take product with it. So our plan worked swimmingly, and we had zero space left in the vehicle. So much so we bottomed out the suspension of the vehicle and had horrible trouble driving home. Horrible trouble driving home.
In poor weather, mind you, bottoming out your suspension in poor weather.
The worst weather.
Where
it was sheer
you
ice
need that
once you hit the
suspension.
Minnesota border.
Oh god.
Yeah. It was bad, and it was a 2-wheel drive vehicle too. It was not a good time. Yeah, water like 8.5 pounds per gallon, and then who knows how many tube meat things that was fed before they put them in a bag. And here's the deal: people don't understand. Like, if you get a normal box of fish from a wholesaler, like you'll get 12 to 20, even sometimes 50 fish in a bag, right? And they'll put O2 in them. If you go to a swap, each one of those SOBs are individually bagged. So it was way heavier than we anticipated.
Yeah, and so that's.
No, forgive me. We got to the end, and one of the last people we dealt with was my friend Jay from J4 Aquatics in Chicago. He had a probably 4 or 5 table booth. He had an entire end at the display of this Quad City Swap, and we've done a lot of business with him in the past. He's been a sponsor in the podcast, become in the podcast. He's done business with the store multiple times. He's a championship flower horn breeder, competitor, that type of thing, right? And he does a lot of predator fish. So he brought a lot of weird stuff in. So we got, eels from him, all kinds of weird stuff. So that was like any remaining space left in the vehicle, we just shoved with the predator bags.
So I'm going to ask this question. This is the harder question to ask. Given the weather conditions, the duration of the drive, and being toward the end of a swap where they've already had a bunch of transport happening beforehand,
sure,
what percentage arrived alive?
Okay.
Roughly.
So I'm going to do a little build up to the number just so you know the people that are pro PETA that somehow made it to this stream aren't going to yell at me. This is the sweat question here. So we woke up at 9 a.m. right that day. We went and had tube meet with these fantastic 3 gentlemen I told you about. Go subscribe to their channels. Then we all went to the fish swamp. We spent the entire day at the fish swamp. We probably got out of there at 4:45, and then we trucked it all the way home, which in good weather would have been 9 hours, right? We didn't get done until the next day at I think it was 5:30 a.m. And we lost 1 fish. One molly that was deformed in a bag. I was so proud.
I would have expected 10% at least.
I was expecting
just given
20.
the conditions and time in the bag and things like that. Because some people, this has been my experience in swaps, and usually I try to talk to them to help them out. Is some people don't understand that you don't need that much water in the bag. You need a lot of oxygen in the bag. Right.
Yeah, and that was not understood. Now, I got to give credit to the people at the Quad City Swamp. There was a lot of veterans there that did it right. They had oxygen in the bag.
Good.
They did the individual. Some people used breather bags, worked great. Some people, they didn't do any prep. Some people used Ziploc baggies, no air in the bag, and they did not prep, especially Plecos, right? No one does the 3-day prep for Plecos. Before a swap, take advice from Robbz. Don't feed your Plecos. Take them out of the area, put them in a floating basket, and just let them no ED 3 days before the swap so they can mass crap out their system. Because the moment you put them in a bag, change the temperature, they will crap out a bag. And when I say crap out a bag, literally poo throughout the entire bag. Yep. So Ziploc bags filled with poo that we had to somehow find a way to rebag on a couple of them, and still only lost 1 fish that was deformed.
That's really
I was
impressive.
Blown away. Quad City Swap's amazing.
So, a couple of questions. Alyssa Bentley, my good friend, would like to know what kind of eels.
There was
some weird eels. So,
tire track eels, fire eels, which aren't not weird eels, just eels in general are weird. right? Especially in just a mom and pop bread and butter fish store. It's not necessarily what we consider oddballs, but for some of our customers, seeing an eel in general is oddballs. Then we got, I think it was two types of Bashirs, excuse me. Ornate Bashir was, I know, one of them that we got small. That I wouldn't, again, not an eel, but more of those fun things. We did have to, fun fact, eel-like, you and I's favorite fish, Bentley. Minnesota, the dojo loach, the golden dojo loaches are banned in Minnesota. So there was a deal that we had with one table. We want to buy your whole table, and then we found the 2 bags of dojo loaches, and we're like, these we're just going to give these back to you for free.
Yeah,
and it just broke my
we
heart.
Cannot buy these.
We cannot take these home.
Where my wife would be like, just send them to us.
Yes,
we'll take all of the babies. She loves loaches.
They were adorable.
Oh man!
I literally lifted it up, watched it fart in the bag. I'm like, oh,
I can't take it home.
I'm gonna take the farty fish home.
And then Petlin Creek asked Robbz from the Minneapolis area.
What's the question again?
I was asking, are you the Robbz from the Minneapolis area?
I did. There's a Robbz. I'm from the Fargo area. If I was gonna pick close to a town.
I mean, that's close enough, right? It's not that far away.
I mean, 3.5, 4 hours, yeah. I frequent Minneapolis.
Close enough for the Midwest.
You'll see me at the Vikings game.
Yeah, you sent me, and also your Facebook, a number of pictures of yourself prepped for various games toward the end of the season and the playoffs.
You blame me? It's 14-3, man, and then we just did what you did and choked. You know, it's just... Come on, I don't want to like see like New York Jets Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
I had face paint. I had everything. I went to multiple games. It was, oh man, it was rough.
Flatbed is in Bismarck.
That's fantastic. You should come say hi. Message me in my Discord and have tube meet. Be one of the tube meet bros. Apparently, we're starting a thing. I saw a couple of
that's your new club, the Tube Meet Bros.
Yeah, Whip is the captain, Whip's World. So be sure to hit him up to submit your application to the Tube Meet Bros.
Oh man. Okay. Ooh, I just gotta come back to.
It was great.
To Earth.
It was great too, because so Derek was with me, and like, hey, we're meeting with some of the fans from the podcast. We're gonna meet them at this place in the morning, and we sit there just lay in bed and we're exhausted from the trip. He's like, hey, by the way, where are we going to eat tomorrow for breakfast? I'm like, I don't know. It's got to be like a Perkins or a Denny's or something. And I look it up. I'm like, you're not gonna believe this. Like, well, we're going to a chili dog place. he just looks over at me like, was this your doing? I had nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. I promise. This is not me.
Oh,
then he shows up and he sees a bunch of guys with beards like us. It was pretty great.
It's like, so those are fish nerds. Yes,
these are our people, clearly. And the best part is we just meet these guys, and immediately they hand me over these little samples in little baggies of this green stuff in tiny baggies, and I put it in my and they just hand over to put it in my pocket. Now, anybody seeing this would immediately think a bunch of dudes that look like us were passing drugs in a hot dog place for breakfast. Now, us with the fish thing, we know immediately that's the crazed food samples that we're going to be trying with our fry batches. And we're pumped to see new lines of food that we're sampling. I'm tickled pink to get that little baggie. So it was a great time. I met three fantastic individuals. Wouldn't trade it for the world.
Surely the moneyless maven. Now the song "Don't Threaten Me with a Good Time" is in my head. I think on that note, I think that's where we end. Gang, we're at our usual endpoint. Robbz, I gotta thank you. He was the one that proposed coming on, basically bullied me into bringing him onto the live stream, as ghetto as this might look. But I really want to thank you for coming on, man, and just chatting around, talking about your experience at Quad City, because it's a unique story. I think most people talk either from the vendor perspective or going and buying something interesting, where you're like the left field, where it's like, we're a store that can't get stock. Let's go get stock. You're right.
Well, Here, last bit I can tell you the story is we got all that product up, we acclimated it, all got it in, and basically pulled an all-nighter all dayer, and that I'd say I'd probably have to confirm with Derek, but I'm pretty sure those boys told me that they sold 70% of all the product that they purchased, filling that entire van in that next week. So it was a massive success. People got stuff that they haven't seen. No store in the area because it ended up getting a lot worse after we got back. And to this point of the first shipment after Quad City Swamp showing up, I think a couple days ago. I'd have to confirm with them, but it really saved a crucial part for the store and benefited. I know our fish community, and we have a fish club up here as well, and they're tickled pink to have it. So all's well that ends well, and I hopefully Quad City enjoyed us because it was beyond wonderful. The staff was so welcoming, and they had a very tight, great organization there of people, and they're all volunteers. So if you're at the next swamp and you see someone, being security, letting people in, guiding, buy them a drink. Donate a couple bucks because I don't think that this is ever done for any idea of profit, and it probably costs those people a lot of money out of their own pocket to get it done. So think of the
Here,
swap,
here.
think of the people, thank them.
Yeah, here. So last thing I'll leave with Zen Ginger. Thank you very much. It's so much fun. Thanks. But the pinned comment is a link to Chris Biggs's, aka the Mad Aquarist, good friend of the channel, friend of mine. Thankfully, I get to say that. You know him even better than I do. That guy's one of the best, as being an absolute hoot. But he did a fantastic tour of Deez Fish Co. Check it out just to get an idea. And if all else fails, go check out their website. As always, my friends, thank you so much for watching. Stay awesome.
Ping pong.